begin. So we will be using ChessLink, so everybody should be logged in and should see the starting position of the ChessLink screen. We'll be using the Ask program. To those of you who are with us for the first time, my name is Daniel Naroditsky. I've had you guys a couple of times before. I'm a grandmaster from the US. It's been a pleasure teaching you guys so far, and I'm really excited for this lecture. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of positions planned. We won't get to all of them. And as usual, I want everybody to be comfortable asking questions. I would much rather us look at 3-4 games and do it deeply than 7 or 8 games and do it hastily and too quickly. So questions are welcome. And I will leave a couple of minutes at the end for general questions and sort of general tips. All right. So the topic today is how to set good traps. And that's a very interesting topic. I like talking about this. And before we delve into any specifics, let's try to understand what a trap is and what it isn't, and what a good trap looks like and what a bad trap looks like. Now, there are 2 main types of traps, okay? And in general, a trap is, of course, a situation where it looks like a particular move is good, but that move turns out to be bad, right? Obviously, that's what a trap is. There are opening traps, there are middle game traps, there are end game traps. Traps can occur in any position, in any part of the game. Maybe you guys have seen more opening traps. We will talk about opening traps. We'll start with that. But by no means are traps restricted to the opening. They can be in the middle game, they can be in the end game, right? But there are 2 types of traps that we're going to be talking about today. The first is what I call the natural moves trap. And I think somebody's unmuted. Okay, now I think we're good. The first is what I call the natural moves trap. The natural moves trap is a trap where you're playing normally, your opponent is playing normally, and you set a trap where the most natural move is a blunder, okay? Because you've set the trap, your opponent can play very naturally, make moves that seem obvious, but they turn out to be blunders. That's what I call a natural move trap. Then there is a blunder trap. A blunder trap is a trap where, as you may guess, your opponent thinks that you've blundered something. You make a move, you miss a fork, you miss a pin, you miss something, or so it seems, and your opponent thinks, he's blundered. So your opponent immediately gives the fork or gives the pin, but of course you haven't blundered it, you've seen it, and you've cooked something up in response to it. So these are the 2 main traps that we're going to be dealing with. I will try to teach you guys how to set good natural moves traps, how to set good blunder traps, when you should try to set traps, and when you shouldn't try to set traps, and what bad traps look like. So we'll talk about all of this stuff. We won't get to everything, but let's jump in. Now let's talk about, first and foremost, what a traditional, normal, natural moves trap even looks like. And we'll use a very famous opening trap for me to illustrate that. I'm pretty sure that probably more than half of you are familiar with this trap. I've known it to be called the Noah's Ark trap. I know that it has different names. And this trap happens from Black's standpoint. Let me flip the board. And it happens in the Rai Lopez opening. So it happens in the Rai Lopez opening, bishop b5. Black plays the main move a6. White drops the bishop back to a4. And here the main move is knight f6. But in the trap, Black plays d6, which is called the deferred Steinitz variation, named after first world champion Wilhelm Steinitz. And d6 is a pretty reasonable move. Now, what should White do in this position? The best move for White is either to castle or to play c3. That is not what White's preparing. c3 in order to prepare d4. But White could say, okay, guess what? d6 is very passive. I'm going to strike in the center immediately, just like I do in the Philidor. ChessLink is not working? I think it is. I think that might be on your end, Ishan. So perhaps try to refresh the screen. d4, it turns out, is not a big mistake, but it is the first way to fall into the trap. And it's a very natural move. I mean, who doesn't want to control the center? Why is it a mistake? Why is it the precursor to a blunder? Well, Black starts with what move? And who wants to tell me just Black's next move? Not the entire trap, just the next move. You can type it in the Zoom chat, as usual, or you can type it in the ChessLink chat. Probably let's use the Zoom chat. That's better. Yeah. So black starts by playing b5 and chasing away the bishop. No problem. White plays bishop b3. And who wants to tell me the next move? What's the next move? And it's very important here to make the right type of move. So some of you are saying bishop g4, but it's actually not bishop g4. So bishop g4 is very tempting, but it doesn't accomplish as much as it seems. White can play the move c3. And yes, you've got the pin going on the queen, but it's not a big deal because White's d4 pawn is very well protected. So it's not such a big deal. ED, CD. And if you play bishop takes f3 and try to win this pawn, White can take on f3 with the queen anyway. I wouldn't even really call this a trap. I mean, it's a pretty obvious move. And queen takes f7 would be checkmate. So that's not quite right. Now, I'll give you guys a hint. The move is knight takes d4. So you might look at this and say, well, what are we doing? That's a weird looking move. We're trading a bunch of pieces on d4. Why is this good for black? And as part of our first ask quiz question, you guys will have to figure this trap out on the fly. This is a pretty hard thing to do if you haven't seen it before. So I'm going to give you guys a good amount of time. I'm also going to give you a hint. After knight takes d4, the first move is going to be, of course, e takes d4, but I still want you guys to make that move. And then the real trap happens after queen takes d4. Okay? So I'm going to use the ask feature here. Please take your time. Please do not rush. Even if you know the answer, you're sure you know it, it doesn't hurt to double check. I'm going to give everybody a minute and a half for this one, and I'm going to make it worth 5 points. All right. So 1 moment, please. Actually, I have to make White's move and then input the solution from Black's perspective. Okay. So be careful and do not rush because the solution is about 5 moves long. And there's one point where I know a lot of people are going to make the move very quickly and it's going to be wrong. So there's one moment at which you have to be super careful. Actually, I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. Go ahead, Black to play, and win the game. Please take your time. Yeah, I know some of you know this. Once again, please don't rush. Very good job so far. Keep on thinking. Give you guys about another minute.
No. I'm gonna miss that one.
Which one?
Wait.
All right.
What is this?
So, folks, please mute your. Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah. As I was saying, guys, it's very important, so we don't have to mute everybody. If you're not volunteering an answer, please remain on mute. Otherwise, the background noise makes it hard for people to listen. So the real trap starts here. The queen has come out to d4. It looks like white is better. What is the first move? And in fact, who would like to walk me through the entire trap? As you guys could see, it was not easy, and it was harder than it looks in this position. Let's go with Redeema. Go ahead. And you are welcome to do this by voice. Redeema, you can. Oh, you can't unmute. Is it possible? Could we grant permission to unmute? Let's see. Okay, looks like I think you'll be able to unmute now. Yep, go ahead. I'm not sure if, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so the first move is c5 hitting the queen.
Okay.
Then take queen d5. It may look like we need to take c4, but then they can just sacrifice. Or no, they can actually take our rook.
Yeah. They can simply take the rook. So what is necessary here first?
First, we need to bishop e6 hitting the queen again.
Mm-hmm.
Then if they do then we do c4 so they can't sacrifice. And then
wait, so
then bishop d7. Then
okay. Right. And what's the reason? How is this different? How is this different from this position? What's the key difference?
Bishop's on e7. So
and why is that important?
They can't take the rook.
Exactly. And that's the key. Good job. So this is the same position as this, except if we play c4 immediately. And I have a feeling that a lot of you guys fell into this trap. You have to be very careful. You have to look at the whole board. This is a counter trap, right? And how do you avoid playing c4? You just need to take your time. You got to identify all of the threats, because what your brain tells you is, oh, he's threatening checkmate, so I can stop checkmate and win the bishop. But that's not the only thing why it's threatening. You have to start with bishop e6 with tempo. If the queen goes backward, then obviously we can play c4 and trap the bishop. If the queen goes to c6, we block again with the bishop. And after queen d5, we can make a draw, but we don't want to make a draw. We want to win the bishop, and the bishop is trapped. The rook is no longer hanging. That is called the Noah's Ark trap. Even some grandmasters have fallen into this trap. So it's a good trap. And it's an example of a natural moves trap where white plays very natural moves and ends up losing the game. So if you're playing white and you realize at this moment, oh no, oh my goodness, you see queen takes d4 and c5. What do? Do you resign? Do you play queen takes d4 anyway? Well, the most important piece of advice that I can give you is that if you are on the receiving end of a trap, if you realize that you're about to fall into a trap, it's usually not too late to cut your losses if you can make a very smart move. Who can propose a way that white can play here which cuts the damage? It isn't great, but it certainly doesn't lose a piece. Don't resign. Yeah, certainly don't resign. Yeah, so you can just castle. Okay, you're down a pawn, but at least you're well developed. But white has a really nice move here. Where else can this bishop park itself? That's a little hint. You can place this bishop somewhere so that black no longer has this idea. Boom, bishop d5, good job. Several people got it, Anisha particularly. The rook moves to b8, and you can grab the pawn on d4. And black can still play c5, but as everybody should be able to see, this bishop is on an outpost. It cannot be attacked by a pawn. Okay, so black shouldn't play c5. Black should play the move knight f6 here, and black has a great position. because white will have to keep this bishop on d5. If you move the bishop to b3, then again, black has c5, c4, but the position is about equal here. So usually it's not too late once you recognize that you're falling into a trap. This is very, very important. Okay, do not assume that your opponent is going to miss the move which continues the trap. Most likely your opponent has seen it, and that's why he set the trap. Chances are he's not accidentally set the trap. Do not, and in general, never rely on your opponent's mistake. Always assume that your opponent sees what you're seeing. That's the best way to play. So there are a lot of opening traps, and the most important thing to remember, folks, about opening traps is that you shouldn't set an opening trap if it ruins your position. Opening traps are good when they're part of a decent opening, but you need to be very careful about not playing an opening only because it sets a trap, right? And that's a mistake that I've made myself. It's very, very tempting to play certain openings because they've got a lot of traps in them, but you've got to be very careful about that. Now, there is an opening which is a great example of that. It's not a very good opening, but it's got a ton of traps, and I'm going to show you this opening, but you shouldn't play it unless you've consulted with your coach, and you should certainly have a different opening that you know if you choose to play this. It's called the Stafford Gambit. I want to show you this because it's a very, very good example of both blunder traps and natural moves traps all rolled up in one. It's very, very interesting, and it teaches you a lot about how to spot traps and not fall into them. I bet you that some of you have seen this opening, but I can bet that almost everybody, I think nobody here has seen all of the traps I'm about to show you. This is really, really cool stuff. Okay, so let me load the game here. And I'm just going to turn the fan on 1 moment. Okay, so the Stafford Gambit begins with e4. It's Stafford, Stafford. It was named after a, I think, American chess player who lived about 50 years ago. e4, e5, knight f3, and black plays knight f6. This is not the Stafford Gambit. What is this called?
Petrov.
This is called the Petrov or the Russian game. And this is not a gambit because after knight takes e5, the main line, who can tell me what the main line is? And there is a trap here. There is a trap here. What is the main move?
Can I say the trap? Can I say the trap?
Okay, one at a time. The person who said, can I say the trap? You can go ahead and share the trap.
So if black takes knight, the pawn, knight takes e4, there's white can play queen e2, and the knight
drops.
The knight can't move because then knight c6 just wins the queen.
Yeah, and if black tries d5,
then just f3 or d3.
Yeah, d3 is a little better for sure, and the knight is lost. Good. Okay. Well explained. Now, black is a way of avoiding. Yes.
Sir, but there is a way to avoid this trap. Even after playing knight take e4. Sir, you can play queen e7, and when he takes queen take e4, you can just attack the knight, pinned knight.
That's absolutely right. Good job for knowing that. Now, I will say that.
So can we play queen e7 before taking the pawn with our knight?
Yeah, so I'll explain that in a second. And just for the future, guys, that was well explained. But yeah, you do sort of, if you want to raise your hand, just type it in the Zoom so I know what your name is and I can call on you. Again, I'll always let you ask questions and stuff, but just so I know who's talking, it will help me. Okay, so after knight e4, queen e2, queen e7, white wins a pawn. White can go d4, and if black takes, there's some theory here, white will win a pawn. So black is still in a little bit of trouble. But as many of you have indicated, the best move for black is d6, chasing away the knight, and only now you play knight takes e4. And if queen e2, that's no longer a problem, queen e7. Okay, and the difference is that black has a queen on e7. So black can simply drop the knight back in the event of d3 to knight f6, and this is equal. This is completely symmetrical position. So that is the main line of the Petrov. But Mr. Stafford, about 60 years ago, played a very interesting move. Stafford played knight c6. Now, this looks like a terrible move. You know why? Not only are we not taking the pawn, we're not even trying. We are not even trying to win back the e4 pawn. And more than that, we are offering a knight trade. This looks like it's the worst move in the position. Okay, maybe the worst move in the position is bishop a3, but it's the second worst move in the position. Except it's not. It's a very interesting gambit. And while the gambit itself is unsound, if white knows what to do, white will get a big advantage. But very few people below 1800 actually know what to do. And there is a tremendous amount of traps in this opening. I'm going to show you some of them, and we're going to use that to transition into middle game traps. So most people take the knight. If white doesn't take the knight, if white drops the knight back to f3, so can black play knight takes e4? Why or why not? And this is boring. We'll get to the fun stuff in just a second. But can black take on e4? The answer is yes. Yes, because queen e2. Again, you have queen e7 unpinning yourself. Good. So knight takes c6. Black plays d takes c6. Capturing away from the center, but opening up the bishop. And the thing that white has to be very, very careful about is that black has a lead in development. I know it sounds crazy. Black has sacrificed the pawn, but he has developed one piece and white has developed 0. And that one fact brings white tremendous difficulties. So let's jump into the traps. What can white do here? Well, white has a couple of ways of defending the pawn on e4. And most people play the move d3 here. Just trying to build a pawn chain and, stopping knight takes e4. White also has knight c3, and white even has e5. We'll look at all three moves, and all three moves contain traps. Now, after d3, where should this bishop develop itself to? Should it give a check on b4? Should it go to e7? What is the correct placement for the bishop and why? So Skanda is correct. So bishop e7 is a little bit too passive. The most active move here, sorry, my voice cracked. The most active move is bishop c5. Why? Because you need to attack f2. You need to pressure f2. When you are trying to develop your pieces, you have to search for the most active square. On which square does your piece actually do something? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Just like everybody in a society should have a job, an important job, every piece should have a job. If your piece doesn't have a job, you should be asking yourself if you can reposition the piece so it does have a specific job. Okay? Now, white's got a couple of moves here. The best move here, well, one of the best moves is to play bishop e2. But that is not a move which a lot of people are going to make intuitively. Intuitively, a lot of people make the move bishop to g5, right? Why not pin this knight and stop the knight from moving, right? This seems like a very natural move. Now, nobody say the move. Nobody say the move, because if you know it, I want to ask this as an ask feature question. And I want everybody to join in on the fun. And here there's the first Stafford Gambit trap. I know that some of you know it, so I'm not going to give you guys a long time. I'm going to give everybody a hint. And the hint is only one word. I'm going to type this move in the chat, this word in the chat, and it's your job to know how to interpret this word. I typed it into the chat. I'm not going to even read it out because that's going to be a hint. And now I'm going to input the solution. Black to play, 1 minute. Go ahead, please. Okay, good job, all of you. Now, who can walk me through this trap and explain to me the moves and explain to me for extra credit, what is that word? Why did that hint? Why was that even a hint? What does that word mean? Tejas, go ahead.
The word, it actually means the trap. There's a really cool trap in the Italian game. I think it's in Italian.
Yeah, Philidor or Italian. There's several openings. Yeah.
Philidor. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's usually in that trap, he sacrifices his queen in this exact same way. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, he stacks the queen just like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what can you tell me about this Stafford position? Yeah.
That same position, the knight is pinned, and you can still, it's like a very similar, you can just take knight takes e4.
Mhm. Thank you for the queen.
Then you can just do bishop takes f2, and the king was up, and then bishop g4.
Checkmate.
And yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So I know that almost all of you have heard of Legal's trap. And that word is not legal, right? Legal, illegal. It's the name, the last name of a French chess player pronounced Legal. And Legal, who lived about 300 years ago, and he knew Philidor, was the first one to discover and write about this particular trap in the Philidor. That Legal played a game in this line. And was very proud of himself. And so this idea is very, very important. Just because nobody plays like this with black doesn't mean it's not important to know Legal's trap. Legal's trap, as you guys can now see, and I'm very happy that some of you are learning about this because it's important, can be applied to different openings. It's a very important concept. What is this concept? It's the concept that even though one of your pieces is pinned to the queen, it is not illegal to move that piece, or shall I say it's not illegal? Okay, that was supposed to be funny. You should always consider moving a piece that's pinned to the queen, even though you're losing your queen, because there might be kind of this type of idea. I think that was pretty funny. There might be, grandmasters aren't usually known to be funny, so cut me a little bit of slack. So you always have to consider what happens if you move a piece, even though it's pinned to the queen. And in this case, you have exactly the same type of idea. Now, of course, white should play the move d takes e4 instead of taking the queen. But now, a lot of you would grab the bishop on g5 instantly. But I never do anything instantly. I always ask myself, is there a better move? And the moment you ask yourself that question, you spot the simple tactic, bishop takes f2. I know all of you know this. If king takes f2, you drop the queen. And if king e2, then there comes bishop g4, skewering the king and still winning the queen. So that's trap number one. Now, of course, white doesn't have to play bishop g5. But if white plays knight to c3 here, black has another very nasty move. This one is kind of a fried liver type of idea. It's a very simple move. I'm not going to use the ask feature here because it's so obvious. The move is knight g4, boom, boom. White can't defend the f2 pawn. He can't play d4. You just take it. So white has to play bishop e3 and give up a pawn. Now, black has sacrificed a pawn, so material is going to be even, but black is still much better. Who can explain to me why black is better here positionally, even though material is equal? Let's go with Mahika.
Black is way better because black has like a bishop on e3 that's kind of taking over a little bit of white space. And the queen is open, and the other bishop also has a diagonal that it can go on. And once the king castles, the rooks can come out too. Yeah,
that's exactly right. You hit on all the important points. Good job. So the bishop is the main thing. It's controlling all of white space. It's not allowing white to castle either way. I love this bishop because white can't castle short or long. So white's king is stuck in the center. Black is the bishop pair. Black is an open queen. Good job, Mahika. You pointed out all the important factors here. So even though material is equal, black is much better. And white's bishop is terrible on f1. Okay, so that doesn't work. Bishop g5 doesn't work. So in this position, if white doesn't know what to do, that's what could happen to him. He has to go bishop e2, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But let's dial it back for a second and talk for a moment about the move e5. Let's say that white doesn't want to allow the bishop to come out to c5. White goes e5 immediately. The knight goes to e4. And this is a move which looks horrible. It looks like you're asking white to trap the knight. Why are we doing this? Well, there's a couple of traps that stand behind this. There's the move d3, which looks like it forces the knight to c5. What's the idea here? There's a beautiful concept that black has, and you guys already have seen this concept just now in a variation. So it's only a matter of just applying what you already know and understanding how it relates to this position. So again, I won't use the ask feature here. I'll simply ask one of you guys to explain what black's correct move is and why it works. Let's go with Ishan. You just typed in the correct move to me. Would you like to help us understand what black can do here?
Yes. So basically, you can just play bishop to c5, because if he takes the knight, then you have bishop takes f2. He can't take the bishop because the queen will be hanging. So when he plays king to e2, then you have bishop g4.
Yep, bingo. Same exact idea that we just saw. And white is in trouble because if white goes bishop e3, then of course you take it. And now, as I know all of you guys can see, check, knight takes g3. This is a very typical puzzle idea. So white is in trouble immediately. So d3, as natural as it is not good. But the most beautiful trap, this is probably my favorite trap. I just love the geometry here. Happens after the move d4, which also looks very natural. You're protecting your pawn, you're controlling the center. And the trap starts with queen h4, threatening checkmate. That doesn't look like a dangerous move at all. It looks like a pretty bad move, actually. White can simply play g3 and send the queen back and perhaps even fianchetto the bishop and attack the knight on e4. And here comes a beautiful tactical idea, which you guys are going to find. And this is going to be the last trap that we look at in the Stafford. I want to move to middle game traps. So as much as I'd like to spend time, more time on the Stafford and opening traps, we're going to have to cut it a little bit short, but not before you guys take a crack at the trap. 90 seconds, black to play. Take your time. Go ahead, please. Folks, do not type moves to everybody. That is common sense. But I know that all of you guys can find this. It's okay. It's okay. I know you didn't do it deliberately. That's fine. Just for the future, make sure that you're checking that you send the messages privately. But no problem. It's all good. This one's 7 points. Fantastic job. A lot of you getting it. 10 more seconds. Okay. I want one of the leaders of the current leaderboard to walk me through the solution. So Sahish, would you like to, if your sound is working, would you like to help us understand the correct sequence? So Sahish Bangaru, go ahead. And if you don't have sound or you don't want to, just let me know in the Zoom chat. Otherwise, the floor is yours. Okay, so looks like we're not hearing from him. So Samhita, would you like to help us? And if not, then I'll go with Nime. All right. You're doing well on the puzzles, but okay, let's go with Nime. Go ahead.
Sir, here we can play
Samhita.
knight.
Oh, sorry, we have Samhita available. So you wanna go ahead? Sorry, Nime. Yeah, Samhita, go ahead.
Knight into g3, attacking the rook. F into g3, queen e4, double attack. Queen e2, then queen into h1. We are winning an exchange.
Very nice. Well explained. You're winning the exchange here. What's important here is that the rook is undefended. Every undefended piece you have to pay attention to. No problem, Sayush. Every undefended piece you want to pay attention to. And Nime, I'll give you the next question if you want. I'm sorry to cut you off. So this is a forkable situation. If only we had a queen on e4 rather than the knight. So we sack the knight, and then we play queen e4, and get the king and get the rook. So you can see that an opening like the Stafford has just a ton of amazing traps. The problem is that if white, what if bishop e3 instead of g3? Yeah, so white should play bishop e3 instead of g3. And I think, if I remember correctly, that black wants to strike at the center with c5. There's some theory here. White is better. And that's the problem with the Stafford. If white doesn't fall into any of these traps, then white is going to be a pawn up, and black is not going to have sufficient compensation. For example, the move c3 is a very good move here. It's a very good move. Sorry, not here. First, you want to play bishop e2. My bad. Bishop e2. Black generally goes h5 and then c3 to prepare the move d4. And not everybody knows these things, and it's not like black is losing, but you have to be prepared for this if you're playing an opening like the Stafford. So my one recommendation, if you want to tell this to your coach, is it's great to know an opening like this and try it occasionally, but you can't only play the Stafford. You just can't. You have to have a legitimate, good opening. That opening may also contain some traps, but it can't be based on traps, if that makes sense. So that's my one big piece of advice in the opening. And if you do learn the Stafford, make sure that you learn all of the traps. Don't just learn it for 5 minutes. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. My friend Eric Rosen, he's an international master. He's done some videos on the Stafford. I have also done a YouTube video on refuting the Stafford. So I show you guys how to play against it. But I still think it's a very interesting opening. If you want to check out my channel, I've got a lot of educational stuff on there. In particular, I have a video on the Stafford. So if you've ever faced it and you want to know what to do against it, I analyze it in very, very great detail. My YouTube channel name is just my name, Daniel Naroditsky. You can just search me by my name and you'll see my channel. To what rating do you think we can play for traps? Asked Sai Krishna. Well, here's the thing. What I'm trying to teach you to do is weave traps naturally into your play. What you want to make sure you're doing is you're setting traps, but you're not doing it at the expense of your position. And that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the class. How do you set traps without ruining your position? How do you set traps naturally rather than doing it in an obvious way? That's very, very hard to do. And very often, you have to think long and hard about how to set that up. So these are going to be hard positions. We're going to look at probably 2 more positions because I want to leave some time for questions. And I want you guys to be prepared for some difficult positions and really, really think deeply. In this first position, we are taking black's point of view. And it's a very complicated position. First thing I want to ask, who seems to be better here and why? Just from a positional standpoint, material is equal. Material is equal. Tejas is correct. White seems to be better. All of you guys, white seems to be attacking. Absolutely. Queen, knight, rook. What very nasty move seems to be a threat here? It may be a threat. It may not be a threat, but it's definitely nasty. What move am I talking about? Yeah, well, it's not mate. It's not mate. Let's make a random move. It's not mate because black can take the knight, but maybe white will have g4, g5 with mate. So it's definitely a very nasty move that we need to deal with. Now, how can we deal with the move queen f6? Who can point out a way in which we can stop the move queen f6? Now, you guys are, some of you are suggesting f5. So f5 is one idea. Mahika, go ahead. I want you to propose your idea.
So to stop queen f6, I was thinking to maybe block the queen so the queen doesn't get to f6.
Okay, how?
Like I can try something like f6 to
Okay, so to stop the queen from coming to f6. Okay,
Yeah.
now we are divided, good job, between f5 and f6. So one of these, both of them stop queen f6, but f5 is worse. f5 is very tempting, but it allows white to do something very, very good to his position. What is it? What does this allow white an opportunity to do? Yeah, so white can take a look at this monster. This rook could come to e1, so it exposes black central pawns. We don't want to open up the position. When you are under an attack, when you open up the position, things often get worse because you create more weaknesses, and you particularly want to be careful about not giving your opponent more activity than he already has. And so black, who is a grandmaster, played the move f6. Now, what's great about this move is that it is a natural move trap. It's a good move in and of itself. It is a good move even if it didn't set a vicious trap, okay, because it stops queen f6. But it also sets a vicious trap, which a grandmaster fell into. So this is going to be a very challenging question, guys. I know I always have challenging positions. I don't think it would be fun if I just had easy positions. So I think you guys can find this idea, but it will require deep thought and engagement with the position. Now, why is it a natural moves trap? What seems to be a very natural plan for white? White was looking at this pawn and saying, gee, that's a pretty weak pawn. So what plan can you guys propose to attack this pawn, to increase the pressure on it? What is often recommended in such situations? Well, knight g4, I would take the knight. Some of you are suggesting g4. What is another way of attacking it with pieces? Let's say you wanted to attack it with pieces. Yeah, so that's absolutely right. Rook f2 is what white played. White played the move rook f2. White intends to double and increase that pressure on f6. But this is a losing move due to a beautiful trap, which wins the game immediately. Again, guys, very important. Do not just automatically make the tempting move. Try to think very, very deeply about how to maybe set up the tempting move. That is the small hint that I will give you guys. And I will give you 3 minutes for this question. This is tough. And there's a reason I'm giving you 3 minutes. The solution is very, very quick. But finding the idea is what's hard. Go ahead, please. Try to be as deep as possible. I don't want to see anybody make an attempt before 30 seconds have passed, minimum. Everybody should be putting in thought here. This one's tough. Keep thinking what I do. Good job, Tejas. A couple of you have gotten it. Very nice. Take another 30 seconds. So I know this is very challenging. So thank you everybody for trying your best. That's the most important part. I don't really care about who wins, the points competition. I do that to motivate you guys. What's important is that everybody's putting in effort, whether you got it right or you got it wrong. Now, let's talk for a second about scientists. When you're a scientist and you're trying to develop, let's say, a medicine for something, or a doctor, how does that process work? Well, you try something, you test it, and if it doesn't work, you don't just move on. You figure out why it didn't work. Why did something not work? The same with scientists. When a scientist runs an experiment and they finish the experiment, they collect the data and they ask themselves, why was the data not what I wanted to see? And then they improve. And then they try another experiment. And that's what you have to do with ideas. So what is the most tempting move? Like, what is the move which looks like it may win the game, but it doesn't? It's a mistake. But who wants to tell me that move? Everybody should be tempted by g5. It looks like it wins the queen. It looks like it wins the queen. Well, let's put our scientist hat on. It doesn't work because white slides into h5. And unfortunately, we have no way of attacking this queen. If we go bishop f7, of course, white takes it with a knight. So what would a scientist ask themselves? They'd ask themselves not what are the other candidate moves, but why does g5 not work? And we've already answered that question. The answer is that white has the h5 square. If white didn't have it, the queen would be trapped. And so the next thing to say, can we make a move that takes away the h5 square from the queen in order to prepare g5? And when you ask yourself that question in that way, it is far more likely that you discover the correct move, which may seem very, very mysterious otherwise. So what's that move? Who would like to walk me through that move? Okay, let's go with Tejas.
So it's queen e8 because
Queen e8.
because now if he just does some random move, then g5. Now the queen covers the h5 square, so the queen's trapped.
Beautiful. And that was the solution. Very nice. And do you guys see how elegant this logic is? It's almost impossible to find queen e8 if you don't do that process. You can't just, the move is queen e8. That's impossible, right? You have to first see g5. Well, unless you're like using Stockfish, you got to first see g5, then say, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? h5 square, cover the h5 square. Now, what I didn't include for you guys is the correct move for white. Isn't this kind of hope chess? Exactly, Sai. White has the move knight g4. And I didn't include this in the ask because it would have made it incredibly hard and I'd have to give you guys 10 minutes. But black is still winning here with another beautiful move because this attacks f6 and it threatens queen h6. But nice, Teal. As you're indicating, Tijil, knight g8 is a beautiful move that defends both, and g5 is unstoppable. White cannot do anything to prevent g5. The queen is trapped. Mahika, you have a question? Go ahead.
Let's go back to the position where the knight, this position when black went g5. G5.
When black plays g5 here. Okay.
No. Like go back when the like queen e8.
Okay.
G5.
You mean g4?
Yeah, g4 and then g5.
Yes.
Is there any way for the white queen to
To escape, yeah. But what does black do here? You tell me. What does black do here? Look carefully. It's a simple move.
The king taking the knight.
Yeah, black's up on knight. So you're right. You don't trap the queen, but you win a full knight, which is pretty much good enough. And you're correct. White can save the queen here. Now, knight g4.
Can't the queen just like move somewhere that maybe sacrifices it?
Well, that's not an idea, right? Nothing exists. You can sacrifice the queen, but you're going to lose it. You can't sacrifice it for anything serious. So there's just nothing here, right? But that's a good question about g4. So we had a point here. Redeema, you mentioned that this looks passive. It does, right? It does look passive, but this is what tactics are. When you are good at tactics, you're able to look at a move that may look bad and understand why it's good. So while this looks passive, you have a very concrete idea of trapping the queen. Okay, just like some food may kind of look weird, but when you taste it, wow, that food is amazing. I'm sure you've had that experience before. Some foods that just don't look that good, but they taste great. And this is an example of that. Black's position looks worse, but because of this specific factor, the fact that the queen is trapped, there's nothing that white can do about it. So the correct move in this position would have been to immediately, sorry, not here, but rather after f6, yeah, here. One of the approaches that was possible would be to go knight g4 immediately, and after knight g8 to go knight e3, getting the knight out of the danger zone. Yep, dragon fruit, I've had that a couple of times. Queen h5, and the queen can escape. And if black plays queen e8 here, as you guys have been indicating, white can play g4 now. And in comparison to the position with the knight on h6, of course, the knight is safe. So white can just evacuate the queen. Black would not have gone g5. And this would have been the best way to preserve a good position for white. But a grandmaster didn't see this, because how natural is it to play the move rook f2? And white spent 2 minutes on this. That was a pretty important observation. White didn't even suspect that there could be a trap here. He calculated g5, queen h5, and didn't think deeply enough about what black wanted to do. So these kinds of natural move traps, that's what you got to look for. And it's that scientist method. It's not entirely on topic, but the idea of acting like a scientist. You see a move, you run the experiment, it doesn't work. What is the next thing you do? You don't abandon the idea. You ask yourself, why doesn't it work? And can I make a move to fix the flaw of that move in order to prepare it? That can be an incredibly good way of spotting traps and hidden tactics in many positions. So unfortunately, there's one more position I really wanted to show you, but I do have to leave a little bit of time open for questions, and we're running out of time. So I think that's more important. I also want to summarize. So as predicted, we didn't get to everything we wanted to get to, but what I'm really hoping from this lecture, you guys won't remember the positions maybe in a month from now, but I'm trying to give you a little bit of inspiration, and I'm trying to sort of show you what the proper way of thinking is in certain positions. And obviously, the Stafford is something that you can definitely look into. It's a good opening to have as an alternative to your main opening. And so I'll turn now to questions. If you have questions, you can type them into the Zoom chat, or you can type, I have a question, and I'll call on you and you can speak your question. So the floor is yours. Any topic related to traps or any chess topic in general is fine with me. I've got time for 2 or 3 questions. Go ahead, please. And let me check the Zoom chat. All right. Redeema, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in general, if we're playing a game, should we take traps a lot? Like not the obvious traps our opponents wouldn't really know?
Can you repeat the first part? What was the first part of your question?
Should we play like traps in like a general game?
Oh, you mean like generally? Yeah, like, so the key rule from today is like, you should set traps as long as they don't make your position worse. it's okay to show traps as long as they don't make your position worse. And that goes for any type of position. So the main idea of a move should not be to set a trap unless you're losing. If you're losing, then you've got nothing left to lose. And so setting traps is just a no-brainer. If you're winning, there's obviously no need to set a trap if you feel like it ruins your position. But in general, yeah, this is something you should always be thinking about because it can basically win you a game at any particular moment.
It's not
Okay.
the obvious, so they won't know.
Yeah, and obvious traps your opponent's going to see. You're absolutely right. You should always be aiming for these kind of hidden traps. That's why I divided this into natural move traps and blunder traps. Natural move traps are what you should be aiming for. If your opponent plays very naturally, then he still falls into a trap. Those are the best kind of traps. Okay, so we had a question about how does one manage tilt, be it online or a tournament. Now, tilt, as many of you guys know, is when you lose a couple of games and you get very angry and then you start losing more games. Well, what I try to tell myself is, and I get tilted too, every strong chess player gets tilted and gets angry. You just got to see the bigger picture is one thing I'd say. You're going to have ups and downs in your chess career for your entire life, or the entirety that you play chess. I'm a GM. I'm pretty good. I still have days when I can't find anything, when I blunder my queen and I'm playing terribly, and that never goes away. Magnus has those days. Just remind yourself that even grandmasters have really bad days, and you should never expect yourself to be perfect 100% of the time. Let's go with Mahika. Go ahead, and then Nime, and then we'll wrap up. And you're welcome to go if you have to go. I know it's time. Mahika, go ahead.
All of these positions opening traps?
Opening trap, yeah. What about them?
Are they all opening traps? Because you can also play. I also play traps in like the end game too, and
Yeah,
middle
well,
game.
That's what I said at the start. This is the middle game trap.
I also play like the end game too. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's more than okay. End game traps are very possible. I had some prepared for today. We just didn't have time to get to them. But absolutely, traps happen in every stage of the game. Opening, end game, middle game, as long as they don't ruin your position. Yeah, I know Abi is your brother. No. Yeah, Redeeman's brother is a very, very strong IM, Abi.
Okay.
Mishra, so that's 100% true. Good question. And let's go with one last question by Tejas, by Anime. Go ahead.
Sir, I had a question that how to avoid traps, because like in my games which I play in my academy, like almost always when I lose, I fall in a trap, nothing else.
Opening trap mostly, or in middle game too?
Man, middle game. Man, usually middle game.
Yeah. So there's no like one thing I could say, and that would be another good lecture, I think, on how to avoid traps. Maybe I'll petition to have that as a topic. But one thing I could say is you should always be suspicious when your opponent is allowing you to do what you wanted to do. So if you're making a knight maneuver and your opponent is not trying to stop you at all, that's a very good time to ask yourself, is this a natural move trap? Is my opponent springing a trap if I complete the maneuver? And the other thing is that you should just be very tactically aware. You should always be aware of the flaws in your position. For example, if your queen is trapped, if you have an undefended piece, always try to note those things down. And sometimes when you make a tempting move, try to understand whether that flaw becomes even more pronounced. For example, if in this position you spotted that the rook on a1 was undefended and you really wanted to push the b pawn, it would be very important to understand that that opens up a diagonal to the rook. So tactical awareness combined with a sense when things just look too good kind of might help you identify moments when your opponent has sprung a trap. All right, guys, it's time for us to end. Thank you, everybody, for staying a little bit longer. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to get to all of the positions, but I see that the feedback was great. I really, really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun for me. And, so I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. I'll see you guys again soon. Of course, stay safe, everybody. I know the situation is difficult, so I wish you the very best, and I hope to see you in another class soon. Thank you all, and stay safe and take care. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. You too.
Bye. So.
Great day.
Bye. Thank you.